Chapter 1. The Beginning. My name is Alex, and I never thought I would travel abroad. Growing up in a small town, life was simple, and everyone around me spoke the same language, so I never felt the need to learn anything else. However, after graduating from university, I realized that if I wanted to achieve my dreams of becoming a successful entrepreneur, I needed to improve my English. The opportunity came when I was offered a scholarship to study business in Sydney, Australia. It was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and I knew I couldn't pass it up. But the thought of living in a foreign country and speaking English every day terrified me. What if people couldn't understand me? What if I made a fool of myself? Despite my fears, I accepted the scholarship and prepared for the move. Before I left, I enrolled in an intensive English course in my hometown. The classes were challenging, but they helped me build the foundation I needed. My teacher, Mrs. Collins, encouraged me every step of the way. "Don't worry about being perfect," she said. "The important thing is to keep practicing. You'll make mistakes, but that's how you learn." Her words stuck with me as I boarded the plane to Sydney, my stomach full of nervous butterflies. Chapter 2. The first challenge. Arriving in Sydney was overwhelming. The city was much bigger and busier than I had imagined. People spoke so quickly, and their accents were hard to understand at first. I found myself nodding and smiling during conversations, even though I didn't always catch every word. On my first day at university, I introduced myself to my classmates. "Hi, I'm Alex," I said. "I'm from a small town, and I'm here to study business." They smiled and welcomed me warmly, but I could tell that my English wasn't as fluent as theirs. I felt out of place, and my confidence took a hit. Over the next few weeks, I focused on improving my language skills. I spent hours listening to English podcasts and watching movies with subtitles to familiarize myself with the Australian accent. One day after class, I decided to step out of my comfort zone and join a conversation with a group of classmates. They were talking about their favorite places in Sydney, and I wanted to contribute. "I went to Bondi Beach last weekend," I said, trying to sound confident. "The weather was beautiful, and the sea was, very clean." They smiled and nodded, but I could see that I had made a small mistake. One of my classmates, Emma, gently corrected me. "We usually say the sea was clear when we talk about water," she said kindly. "Clear, right," I repeated, grateful for the help. "Thanks, Emma." Chapter 3. A New Friend. As the weeks went by, I slowly started to improve. My classmates were supportive, and I practiced speaking with them every day. One of my closest friends became Emma, the girl who had corrected me on my first attempt to join a conversation. She was originally from Melbourne and had a passion for travel. Emma loved learning about different cultures, and she was always patient with me when I struggled with English. We started hanging out after class, going for coffee, or exploring different parts of Sydney. Each conversation with her helped me grow more comfortable speaking English. One evening, we decided to visit the Sydney Opera House. As we stood by the water, admiring the iconic building, Emma turned to me and said, "You know, your English has really improved since we first met." "Really?" I asked, surprised. "I still feel like I have a long way to go." "You've come a long way," she said. "You're more confident now, and that's what matters. It's not about being perfect." Her words reminded me of what Mrs. Collins had told me back home. Confidence was key, and I was starting to feel it. Chapter 4. The Presentation. One of the biggest challenges I faced during my time in Sydney was giving a presentation in front of my class. As part of our business course, we had to present a marketing plan for a new product. I had spent weeks preparing my presentation, but the thought of speaking in English in front of everyone made me nervous. On the day of the presentation, I stood in front of the class, my palms sweaty and my heart racing. I glanced at Emma, who smiled at me from the back of the room, giving me the encouragement I needed. "Hello, everyone," I began, my voice shaking slightly. Today, I'm going to talk about a new product idea that I think could be very successful. As I spoke, I stumbled over a few words, but I pushed through. I remembered to take deep breaths and focus on the message I wanted to convey. By the time I finished, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. When I sat down, my classmates clapped, and Emma gave me a thumbs up. Despite my nerves, I had done it. I had given a full presentation in English, and I was proud of myself. Chapter 5: Embracing Mistakes. As my time in Sydney continued, I realized that mistakes were part of the learning process. There were still moments when I struggled, like the time I accidentally asked for chips at a restaurant, thinking they would bring me fries. Instead, they brought me a bag of crisps, and I quickly learned that in Australia, chips could mean different things. But instead of feeling embarrassed, I started to embrace these moments. Every mistake was a chance to learn something new, and with each day, I grew more comfortable using English in my daily life. Emma and I often laughed about the cultural differences we encountered. One day, while we were having lunch, she taught me a few Australian slang words. "Here's a fun one," she said, smiling. "In Australia, we say arvo for afternoon. So instead of saying this afternoon, you can say this arvo." "Arvo," I repeated, amused. "That's a good one. I'll try to use it next time." From then on, I started incorporating more local slang into my speech, which helped me blend in with the local culture. It was fun to learn these new expressions, and it gave me a deeper understanding of the language. Chapter 6: Achieving Confidence. By the end of my year in Sydney, I had come a long way. I no longer hesitated when speaking English, and I had developed strong friendships with people from different countries. My confidence had grown not only in my language skills, but also in myself. The final project for my business course was a group assignment where we had to pitch a business idea to a panel of judges. My group and I worked hard on our presentation, and when it was our turn to speak, I felt surprisingly calm. Standing in front of the panel, I spoke clearly and confidently, using the skills I had developed over the past year. As I finished my part of the presentation, I saw a look of approval on the judges' faces. After the presentation, Emma came over and gave me a high five. "You did amazing, Alex. You sounded like a native English speaker up there." "Thanks," I said, feeling a sense of accomplishment. I couldn't have done it without all the practice and support from everyone. Epilogue: The journey continues. Looking back on my time in Sydney, I realized that learning English was about more than just speaking the language. It was about stepping out of my comfort zone, making mistakes, and learning from them. It was about connecting with people from different cultures and embracing the challenges along the way. As I prepared to return home, I felt grateful for the experience. My English had improved, but more importantly, I had gained the confidence to pursue my dreams, no matter where they took me. Learning a language is a lifelong journey, and I knew that my journey with English wasn't over. But now, I had the tools and the confidence to continue improving, one step at a time.